but my walls came down when your love shone through. Now my life will never be the same. You love me too much to let me stay this way.
All right, good morning. Welcome to the Warriors Way UCAN Studios. Our warrior this week is Scott Masi. Say hi.
How you doing, Isaac?
Doing good. All right, before we get to you, if you have not gone out and checked out spiritualwarfareunit.com, clicked on struggling, if you know someone that's struggling or needs help with food or clothes or baby formula or drug addiction or a DUI lawyer or any of those things, go to spiritualwarfareunit.com, click on struggling, get that information, and you can be the person that helps somebody. Also, if you grab your phone and go to United to Face Addiction, what is it, UAF?
UFAM, Unite to Face Addiction, Michigan.
All right. Unite to Face Addiction, Michigan. That's Scott's website. So if you want to check that out while we're talking, you can do that. That's up on the screen there. All right, now we'll get started. So, Scott, we were talking beforehand, but we're going to catch people up. I wanted you're from Skywood Recovery, correct?
Yep.
All right, give people a brief overview of what that is.
Yeah, so Skywood Recovery Center is a treatment facility in Augusta, Michigan, which is, like I kind of say, it's between Battle Creek and Kalamazoo. It's out in the country. It's
Don't
beautiful.
they make Kellogg's cereal out there?
Oh, yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we go right past the, when I'm transporting somebody to treatment, and we go right past the plant there.
All right, how long has that been there?
5 years. So
Okay.
it's one of the newer facilities addressing addiction in the state and in the Midwest. And I could tell you, after working, I've been there 5 years, and prior to that, I was 12 years at Brighton Center for Recovery. So Skywood is one of the premier facilities. We're just starting to get well known in the community.
Why would you say it's like a premier? What makes it premier?
Because of what we offer. We're on for a Midwest facility treating addiction. We're on 370 acres. It's a former golf course.
Wow!
And we utilize the whole
all 370 acres.
370. We got a couple lakes on the property, which we allow people to go fishing, do some recreation on there. We still have a couple miles of cart path. So we bought some bikes. We do a lot of hiking. We have high ropes course. We also work with a community farm that we do a lot of equine therapy, which is with the horses.
Okay.
So we
people are they able to like grow stuff like plants and tomato plants and stuff like that too?
Well, at the golf course, we worked with the DNR, and we what do they call it? Resettled it back to its natural setting. So we only kept 2 holes, the first and the 18th hole. So people could come, and we got sets of golf clubs, and they can play a couple holes. We got the driving range, but also the facility is just. You walk between facilities, so you're not in like a hospital setting.
Yeah.
So it's really just a great holistic approach to treatment.
All right, so people that are going through drug rehabilitation and AA, they can go check this out, and they can do this at what, ufam.org?
Well, the Skywood, they can go right to Google Skywood Recovery.
Okay.
They can go right to the site. It's part of a larger entity. Skywood is part of a national organization called Foundations Recovery Network. So we have facilities in California, Georgia, and the facilities are all, just beautiful facilities.
All right, cool. So now that we got where you're from and why you're here, I want to let people know about you. So you said you're originally from Detroit, right? Born there?
No, I was born in Dearborn, which is a suburb of Detroit. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
And then schooled there?
Yeah, so I went to Etzel Ford.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, and so were you there through your whole childhood, teenage years?
I grew up in just an amazing community. Dearborn is the home of Henry Ford.
Right.
So I always say I grew up under the blue oval. I was a third generation that worked at Ford.
At Ford, okay.
But growing up in that community, there was a park every couple blocks. There was a community pool. There was a recreation. We had a recreation department second to none in the nation. It was kind of ironic. My dad just on Sunday was inducted into the Dearborn Recreation Hall of Fame.
No kidding, for what?
Yeah, for boxing in 1954. It was 54. He won the Golden Gloves, the state Golden Gloves.
No kidding.
Through the Dearborn Rec Department.
Man, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, so you said when you were growing up, now we were talking about this before we started, it's back, so it was the 60s. So you would have been how old?
Yeah, so I was born in 64.
Okay.
And
then you had to go see someone about a learning disability at a young age, right?
Well, I was always growing up in my early. I mean, even pre-K.
So 4 or 5.
Yeah, nursery before
Really hyper?
Nursery school. Yeah, back then, yeah, it was called hyperactive. So I was diagnosed as hyperactive once I got into the school, and I was mainstreamed into the school.
Yeah.
Back then, they didn't have the resources like we do today.
Right.
So you had to be diagnosed or labeled LD.
Learning disability.
Learning disability.
So you're at how old?
Well, I was in kindergarten when I first went on Ritalin.
Yeah, so hold on. So
Yeah.
you said you were a part of a study, like at the beginning of all this.
Yeah.
So you went and saw, so you were how old when this started?
Well, I don't. How old are you when you're
4, 5, 6?
Yeah, about at least 6.
All right.
So
and you had to go see somebody about being hyper.
Yeah. So my parents had some concerns about my behavior. I mean, there were some things that they told me that I never knew I did, like throwing a brick through our front window.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
It's like through the living room.
Yeah, for no apparent reason, I guess.
Yeah, that's high strung.
There was some behavioral issues that they identified.
Okay.
And went seeking answers. And my parents became very active in the MACLD, which is the Michigan Association for Learning Disabled.
Okay.
So, and my parents were always people that, they wanted answers. They wanted to look for answers, and they were very proactive. So they got me involved with a whole bunch of different programs. But I was seeing a psychiatrist who was part of a research study out of the University of Michigan, and that's when I was first put on Ritalin.
So and this was this is late 60s.
Yeah.
So this has been going on since then. I found that story to be interesting. I didn't realize it had been going on that long. Normally hear it in the 80s and 90s, but
no. Yeah. And Ritalin was the first medication that they were used. So you can imagine me growing up and having to be taken out of the room, go take my medication, coming back, and you talk about bullying now.
Yeah.
I mean they take a pill, Scott. Just.
Go take a chill pill, Scott.
I mean, just so
Yeah, kids are known to be really nice, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that sucks. So you had to go through that all of school?
Well, no. So what happened was when my parents put me on the Ritalin, it only lasted for like 3 months that they kept me on it because I went from extremes. I went from a kid who would bounce off walls, very disruptive in the classroom, to a kid that would cower in that corner.
Wow.
I mean, my personality changed so dramatically.
Wow.
And, the reason...
Was it like instantaneous?
Pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah, because, I mean, what bothers me when I talk to clients and patients about addiction, mostly when it comes to our mental health, and a lot of us are being medicated. We're being medicated at younger ages. When I mean, you're talking about a kid in 6, 7, 8 years old, with a very vulnerable brain, having basically being experimented on. Yeah. So just think about this. I ask people a lot that are on medication for behavioral health issues. What's the first thing the doctor does when he prescribes to you? First question out of his mouth is going to be, well, let's see how this works.
Let's see how it works.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it is a practice.
you just.
Yeah, it's like they're.
We don't know enough about the brain.
Yeah, and the brain acts differently, and the recourses and the preset conditions and all that stuff.
Oh,
right?
yeah. So so when people ask me, when did your addiction start? I always say,
7. Addiction started at 7.
Yeah.
All right. So here you are, 7. So you're going through this. You get off of it. What did you? like, did your parents get you into sports? Or
Well,
like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I was in sports. Very young age, but
just to get the energy out.
yeah.
Right?
So what's interesting about that, you bring up about getting the energy out. They actually, like I say, my parents were very proactive. So they found this gym, and all it was what the heck? You jump on trampolines.
Trampoline, yeah.
It was all trampolines.
The whole gym.
And climbing ropes. And I did that after school every day. They take me to this place. And
Just to get the energy out of you.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And
That's
then,
cool.
Worked on a healthy diet,
Right.
that's huge. But, it's carried throughout my life. I mean, there's, it's hard for me to stay focused a lot of times.
Yeah, like you see a shiny thing, and you're like, snorkel. Yeah.
Like, nickel.
Yeah. What were you talking about? Yeah, no, dude, I totally hear this. So, all right, so you're getting to high school. What were your grades like? What was that kind of situation?
Not good.
Yeah.
And I had a
CD.
Older sister, younger brother.
Yeah.
They excelled both scholastically and
yeah, I had a younger brother that excelled. So my dad would be like, "Well, let's see what you did.
Yeah.
Let's see what your brother did."
Yeah.
Oh, and I was just like, man. And it wasn't like I wasn't trying.
No.
I was just like, I'd just get a C. And I was a BC student, and that's just kind of where I sat.
Yeah.
And so, all right, so you're going through high school. You graduated what year?
I graduated in '83.
Okay. And then what happened after graduation?
Well, that's interesting.
Did you were 18 or 17?
I don't know. I mean, I was older for my
probably
grade because my birthday was on Christmas, so
Okay.
Easy to remember my birthday. But I stayed in Dearborn. I started that June at the University of Michigan, Dearborn. So, and I got in, like I say, my parents were very proactive.
Yeah. So you're going to college.
When I got in through a program called the Program for Academic Support. Mm-hmm. So, mostly it was geared towards, back in '83, there was a lot of push towards minority.
Equality.
Equality.
Yeah.
So I was able to take advantage of that with this past program.
Okay. So what'd you go do? What were you studying?
Well, I was studying business, finance. And
How'd that go?
Not too good.
Yeah. How long were you in that?
Well, it took me 5 years to I graduated in 5 years. I transferred out of University of Michigan Dearborn and went to Western, and the whole focus.
Did that make it better or worse?
No,
worse?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Typical college.
Yeah, and
partying life.
It was kind of interesting because my dad was had a plan. He was going to retire and he was going to start a family business. Mm-hmm. So I knew I kind of had that to fall on.
Yeah.
So going through college was more just a party.
Okay.
Knowing that I was going to fall back on something.
Right. Dad has already got that taken care of. On that note, that's a perfect time to go to our first break. If you've not gone to spiritualwarfareunit.com and use that to help somebody out, please do that. If you go to ufam.org or ufammichigan.org and check out the recovery locations to see if there's something there that you can help somebody with, and sit tight. We'll be right back. Taking a quick break from our podcast, I wanted to let you know about our life application program that we have for churches and nonprofits in the area that are trying to find programming that they can use in case the corona shuts you down and you're not able to get in. You go to spiritualwarfareunit.com. You click on our episodes, and you can check out our programs for as little as $29.99 a month to make sure that we're still getting the word out to those people that need it. Now, back to the program. All right, welcome back to the Warrior's Way. Our warrior this week is Scott Masi, and he's with Skywood Recovery. And we were just getting into the college party time years. And anything major happen, or you're just kind of gliding through, you're just kind of experiencing life as a young
Yeah, I was pretty resourceful going through college. Mm-hmm. Because I went year round. I stayed up in Kalamazoo.
Okay,
lived there during the summer, and I worked at a If you go into college, you got to work at a bar.
Yeah,
because you become very popular.
You got to, right?
I worked at.
So you were a bartender?
Yeah, so I worked at just a little shot in a beer.
Were you
place.
Tom Cruise in it?
Yeah, and I mean it was an awesome experience. But it was in a rough area, Kalamazoo, and
Okay.
One night, our supervisor, we couldn't find the supervisor.
Yeah.
He went to go grab, to restock the beer, and where this bar was, it was basically 2 hotel rooms that were just knocked out for a bar
Gotcha.
in this motel.
Yeah, I got you.
So when we finally found him, he was they had belted him up and taped him. And,
Wow.
His pants down to his ankles.
Wow.
And he was a Marine too. But they came in, they stole his wallet and stole what money was in the.
And that was just part of the life, right?
Yeah, we had, right where we were, there was a lot of prostitution. So
Yeah.
I remember a couple nights, they running from the Johns or running from, they'd come into the bar and lock themselves in the bathroom until
Wow.
they were escorted out.
No kidding. So any major experience in there that was like part of your makeup as a person, or are these just the experiences you went through,
just,
what I'm saying?
like I say, being resourceful, we'd have a group of us kind of gravitated to one another, and we got a house and we formed our own, fraternity.
No kidding.
So, just tongue in cheek, but
Yeah.
we had some great parties.
Yeah, sure.
And pretty, pretty resourceful how we would do them.
Yeah.
To be admitted into the party, obviously, to get a cup, it's a couple bucks and
Yeah.
and a can of food.
Oh, there you go. And a can of food.
Yeah, so I was like given to the, so we had food for the semester.
There you go.
Every time we had a party.
Win-win, right?
Yeah.
All right. So you graduated, you were what, 23, 24?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, time flies for me. I can't put everything in
Yeah.
perspective. But,
No, this is just way my
yeah,
mind
88.
works it.
So what? Yeah, 24.
Yeah. All right. So 24, and your thought process is, I'm just going to go back to my dad, and he's going to do the home business thing at this time, or?
Yeah, it was. So I went back home. Was living with my parents, and they were going through a rough time. So
Yeah.
they were on their way to divorce.
Uh-huh.
So I was kind of in that dysfunctional environment
Right.
as well.
So what did you decide to do with it?
Well, my mom and I was also, I went into real estate, so I ended up buying this. Back, this was '89. I bought a house in the city of Detroit, $20,000. You could putt off the front lawn. It was just
Yeah.
well taken care of.
Yeah, well maintained.
Nice little area of Detroit.
Yeah.
So I was one of the first of my friends to buy a house. So then that turned into the party house.
Right, of course.
So just almost every day.
No kidding.
One of my first roommates, had a band, and he played right down the street. So spent a lot of time.
No kidding. What did you do in the band?
Well, he was a singer. Yeah.
No, what were you?
No. He lived
he
with
just
me.
was.
Yeah.
Wow, that had to be loud.
Yeah, and then the parties after the bars closed, just coming back.
Right. So how long does that last?
Oh, another 5-6 years.
No kidding.
Then I get married, and
that's early 30s.
yeah.
All right, so you get married in your early 30s?
Yeah. I think yeah.
So this is
90, yeah.
So this is
98.
all part of that whole scene, a rocking scene, hanging out scene. You met her.
Yeah, well, I had known her. So this is kind of how I don't know how dysfunctional I was. We had a long-term relationship.
Oh, okay.
20-some years.
I got you. Everybody's
And
dysfunctional.
so it was like, what's the next step? I mean,
Yeah. This is
I
what
guess
we're
we get
supposed
married,
to
right?
do.
Yeah. So
I got you. All right.
So
and then any kids during that time?
yeah, 2 beautiful girls. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing awesome. So my one just graduated from high school. The other's in school in Washington, D.C. The one's going that just graduated from Fenton is going to Loyola in Chicago. So
Wow, that's cool.
they're spreading their wings.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, so you're in your 30s and you're in Dearborn. You're doing the real estate, and
I'm in Kalamazoo now.
Oh, all right. So how did that happen?
Yeah, I know. Well, I went into rehab and then came out of rehab.
Now, what was the circumstance that said, "Yeah, I better go to rehab"?
Well,
what happened?
yeah, I guess I'm
That's all right. I'm the
throwing a
detail
lot
guy.
of holes.
Yeah, that's all right. We're filming.
During this time, I had bought a bar.
You bought a bar. So real estate's going well then.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I'd been, working since I was a kid. You know, and
so you worked as hard as you partied.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what happened? What made you move from Dearborn to Kalamazoo?
Well, I had the bar for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. Some things happened within the bar, and I went to rehab in Minnesota. So,
all right. So was it like a mutual choice with you and your wife, or is you just saying I got to get this done?
No, my wife wasn't part of it.
Okay.
We weren't married at the time.
Yeah,
we were engaged.
Oh, okay.
So, real quick, I'm off to treatment.
Yep.
And I come home, and couldn't go back to the bar.
Right.
So,
did you sell it or?
Yeah, we ended up. I had a partner.
Okay.
And he ran it for a couple of years, and I always say I was, me and my partner, we were our own best customers.
Yeah.
So it was a blues bar too on top. It was really, it was a neat experience.
Okay. So you're how old at this time? Mid to late 30s?
Yeah.
35-ish?
Yeah.
All right, so you moved to Kazoo then when you got back from Minnesota?
Yeah.
Just to get away from the scenario?
Well, she was living in Kalamazoo because
Gotcha.
she was running a dance studio. And then,
Okay.
So I started working for a family member out there. Mm-hmm. And, and then a couple years later, got a job at Roush Engineering.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we were still living out there. And
how'd that happen? Is someone you knew? Or?
Yeah, because I had worked. I think I had 20-some jobs within a 17-year period.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. I was just going from. I had no rudder in the water.
Yeah. So how's
no
the
direction.
So the juggling process between the addiction and the thing is one was winning and the other's winning and so you're bobbing. You're just you're weaving a bob. Now, were you doing this by yourself? Was your family involved?
Well, my family, like I said, my parents were going through the divorce, and then they bought. They owned some places in Florida, so they were going back and forth.
Yeah.
So
you're just kind of alone.
Yeah. Well, and then the relationship I had with my wife at the time wasn't the tightest. So
no, I get it.
And being going through my addiction, I'd using the whole time.
Yeah.
And it got really dark. It escalated. Like I said, going back to talking about the brain chemistry when it comes to the Ritalin, when I think we talked earlier before we got on about what we're finding out in addiction today is, the brain. There is a predisposition for addiction,
right?
And what we're finding that to be is low dopamine. You're born with low dopamine, so that kind of took effect when I was put on that Ritalin initially. So it kind of set things in motion,
right?
So then when I was, in 8th grade, when I was introduced to cocaine, Ritalin acts on the same receptor sites as
at 8th grade.
Yeah, 8th grade. So
oh my gosh,
I had family members that were
all right. So you're in your mid-30s. You're in the super dark time.
Yeah.
So what happened next?
Well, it was kind of interesting. So I had two children in diapers.
2 girls.
I got a raging crack cocaine addiction.
Okay.
I got a wife who, could only deal with it the way she knew how.
Right.
It wasn't the best. And,
no one has a proper response to that lifestyle.
And she had some issues, that she was dealing with.
Sure.
She had a closed head injury that she was dealing with from a car accident a few years earlier. Mm. So emotionally, there was some detachment, and no wife wants to believe they're married to a crack addict.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was. It got to a point I didn't know. There was so many lies on top of lies. I didn't know what the truth was, and I was living. I had a PO box, and hiding bills, and just cleaned out my 401k.
Right.
And
so all of this is coming to head: the finance and the relationship and the money, and it's all coming down to head. And what happens when it all crashes? What happened?
Well, thank God. I come from a very, loving family that, they're always looking for answers. So I had kind of separated from my family. They're doing their thing. I'm talking about my parents and my brother and sister.
Yeah.
And they knew something was up.
Yeah.
They knew something was up. And I hadn't talked to my mom for months. And, what they were doing was they were planning an intervention. And so the day of my interventions, I always talk about it when I'm talking to clients because, a week earlier from my intervention, my car had gotten stolen right out of my driveway.
Wow.
So, now, my wife at the time, she's going to school and she's working. I hadn't worked for about a year and a half.
Yeah.
I'm telling her I'm looking for jobs, and she's out getting her education and working, and I'm at home just getting high.
Right.
And, we got 2 kids in diapers.
Yeah.
And so I always tell the story the day of the intervention. So we're sharing a car. I got the kids in the car with her, and I drop her off at her job. She's working at the Gymboree, $8 an hour.
Right.
She's doing it, because of the benefit of the clothes are cheaper, right? You work for them, you get them at a discount. For our kids.
Yeah.
And so I drop her off. We say our affectionate, F you, and off to work she goes.
Yeah.
And then that off to the crack dealer I go with my 2 kids in the car.
Right.
So, but I knew I had an appointment with my aunt, and so I picked that up, and just putting my kids through, I used in front of them. I went and picked up drugs with them.
Yeah.
And they were very young. They were in the car seats, but they'd ask questions. Daddy, like, why doesn't that house have a door and windows? Why don't they cut their grass?
Yeah.
Why aren't there any swings on that playground?
Yeah.
Daddy, why are you giving that man money?
Right.
But anyway, that I get to my aunt's house and walk in the door. And like I say, my mom was living in Florida. My dad was living in Florida. My sister was in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
I walked in
they're
that door,
all there.
and to see my mom was right. This is the first person I saw. And to see, your mother who you love so much.
Yeah.
And she loves you so much, but she's got that look like, please don't run.
Yeah.
Come and sit down.
Yeah.
Listen to what we have to say. It was a love first intervention. It's the Jays out of they're here from Michigan. They're nationally, internationally known for their interventions. But
all right. Well, before you get into that, we got to take a break. And if you've not gone to ufam.org and check that out, please do. Hit Skyroot Recovery and check out Spiritual Warfare Unit. Like, share, and subscribe. We'll be right back.
I'm really impressed with the teachings that Isaac has been bringing to us, as this is all based from Proverbs.
I like it because it's simple, and it doesn't matter who you are. It's very easy to understand and apply to your life.
It points out, my bad parts, and but it's showing me how to do the good parts. And I'm trying to apply that and make a better life for myself, because I'm tired of where I've been.
It's impacted a lot of the guys as they continue to talk and ask questions after the meetings, as they speak to one another regarding the meeting and the messages and the topics that are being brought up, which are down-to-earth topics of situations and things that we live with on a day-to-day basis.
He takes the Bible and he breaks it down into simple terms and where you can understand. And like I said before, sometimes a lot of churches, even the Salvation Army, sometimes we start using these big words that people don't understand, like even saying someone got saved. Well, what does that mean? What does it mean when you say someone got saved? And it's accepting Jesus into your heart. So it's like words like that we use that people don't understand.
It's just very interesting how he points out, the different things of, the sin part, and then he comes back with the, how to make it better, and he just points it out. It's there. I didn't know all this stuff was in there, but now that he's pointing it out, it's like, wow, I guess if you really dig into the Bible, you find these things.
This is a daily moral standards that we can live by, that the teachings are coming from, And honestly, we can take verse by verse as what he's done, and pretty much he's done the hard work for us and now laying it out so that we have an easier understanding.
There's some people who don't like to be in Bible classes, but this one seems to get their attention.
Yeah.
Resentment.
All right, welcome back to the Warrior's Way. Our warrior this week is Scott Masi, and we were just getting to the intervention, and I want to make sure we had time for this. So you walk in, there's everybody there. You see your mom's face. She says, "Please," she's got that "please don't run"
Oh,
look.
that loving look, that
Yeah.
hopeless look.
So what'd you do?
Well, I was ready. Prior to that, I had been in and out of treatment, 5-6 times.
Okay.
But now with the kids and just a dysfunctional. I had 2 domestic violences at the time. My wife at the time had 1. It was a very dysfunctional household,
volatile.
and my kids were starting to witness this, and it just wasn't good. And I had a little bit of clarity. So, I walked in, listened to what they had to say, and they had an interventionist there, and he had his car, and it was like,
we're going to take you like this moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I got 7 rocks of crack in the car. I'm like, well, can we wait till tomorrow?
You want to get the last one, right?
Oh yeah, no, we're going now. This,
Yeah.
The bed's ready now. So got in the car with him and went to Brighton Center for Recovery.
Okay. And so,
Brighton Hospital at the time.
all right. So you go in there. How long's the treatment?
Well, I was very fortunate. Like I say, I hadn't been working for almost 2 years. and
Yeah.
had no insurance, and they gave me a scholarship,
Okay.
and I was just so grateful. So, understanding the significance of where I was in life and and how to address this addiction. It took me a couple of weeks to get a clear head.
So you're
and
like in your mid to late 30s right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
So
so
I was 42 actually. I was 42.
You're in your 40s.
Yeah, I was
wow, so
42.
this whole process was almost
Oh
like,
yeah, no, it's
Okay, so
It's
you're
been a
about
lifestyle.
20 years. Yeah, yeah.
It's been a long lifestyle.
All right, so you're in your early
yeah.
40s. Family comes in, intervention. You
Yeah.
get someone, scholarships, pays for you to go to this program.
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks in, your head's clear, and what happens?
Well, I stuck out, the 30 days. But back then, they didn't have aftercare. You weren't talking about what you're going to do when you leave treatment.
Right.
So I got out. I knew I couldn't go back home. I had to do some really drastic stuff. So
Okay.
I went, even though I got the kids at home, I got the wife at home.
Yeah.
I just knew, I wasn't going to be able to stay sober
Right.
in the environment that home. Because
Gotcha.
my wife wasn't willing to be part of the solution.
Right, sure.
She
That's
always
your
was gonna-
problem, not my problem.
Right. She's
Yeah,
always
yeah.
going to be able to point the finger at
Sure.
it. And so I went to my brother's and holed myself there. Reached out to the interventionist.
Now, where
and,
he live at?
he lived in Canton.
Okay.
Canton. Yep. And,
All right, so how long did that process go on for?
Well, it was just a couple days because I reached out to the interventionist. I said, "Hey, what's my next move?" I got
Oh, so you asked for help?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I needed. I knew I needed to stay in this process,
Right.
Because I'm a huge believer in the continuum of care.
Yes.
Because when you looked at I won't go into treatment specifics
Yeah.
right now, but I just knew I needed to continue to focus on
So what did
recovery.
you do to do that?
So I reached out to the interventionist. The interventionist suggested a program called Personalized Nursing and Lighthouse, which is out of Canton.
Personalized Nursing and Lighthouse?
PNLH.
Okay,
Yeah.
and what do they do?
So they had one of the only programs in the state. And, it was called an IOPD program.
Okay.
Intensive Outpatient with Domicile Living. So I went to this program, and I had nothing. So now I went through the state funding, like the CMH, the Community Mental Health Organization.
Community Mental
So
Health,
they funded my treatment, and then I just had to come up with the $50 a week for my housing,
Okay.
and was able to do that. And I stayed there for about 6 months, but I slowly reintegrated back into the community.
Right.
So I was doing my IOP, then stepped it down to an extended outpatient
Right.
thing, just immersed in recovery.
Right.
Then I took a job, a midnight job, so I could continue to do programming during the day.
Yeah.
And then left that program, went back to Brighton and just volunteered there.
So you love this thing,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. I immersed myself.
Okay.
So on my 2-year anniversary, the CEO of Brighton, Denise Burton-Epp, amazing woman. Mm-hmm. She offered me a job.
So this is you at 44, 45?
Yeah, I was 44.
Okay.
Yeah, so she.
So 2-year anniversary, she walks up and says,
Here's this contract. I mean, when I went to sign it,
You start
I mean,
crying?
it was all wet. Yeah, from the tears coming down my cheeks.
because you realized you had purpose at that moment.
Oh, I had a life of purpose. Yeah.
Oh, my
yeah. There was
gosh,
nothing
man.
better than, like I say, I worked at Roush, I worked at Ford.
Yeah.
I could go back to
That's
that
just
environment.
making money. It's not making a difference, right?
No, I could make 3 times what I was offered,
yeah.
right? But it was that life of purpose, and I knew I had my family behind me. They were starting to understand it because, I came from a strong Italian family where I was the oldest son, and it's like, what the hell's wrong with you, Scott?
Yeah.
Look at your sister, look at your brother.
Yeah.
Why don't
How are
they-
the younger
yeah.
ones doing better than you?
Yeah,
Wow.
But they started learning more about addiction too. And,
Yeah, so you're telling them what you're going through in the process, right?
Oh, I used to write like every month, every 3 months. I used to write like the people that were involved in helping me get to where I was. I would write an email to them and kind of just let them know what was going on in my life and how much I appreciated them. So I mean, there was just so much going on.
Yeah. So what was that moment with your parents after you told them that? Like that had to be an amazing moment.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, unfortunately, my first year of recovery was pretty tough because
Sure.
I filed for divorce while I was in treatment. I could write a book on this.
Right.
I mean, it was the most dysfunctional.
We just
Yeah.
know the process. So you
and then
you had to do a divorce.
yeah.
What else did you
Well,
have to
then
get fixed?
I had to file for bankruptcy.
Yeah.
It was funny. I was doing an open talk at Brighton, and I got a call during the break, and it was one of the Militechs. Who I just became so close with.
Yeah.
And she's like, Scott, your car's being towed. Is there something wrong with it? Gosh,
Yeah.
it got repoed. They found it.
Yeah, that's the problem. They
yeah.
figured it out.
So I'm doing an open talk, and there goes my car being repoed. Yeah. So then that year,
The ironic part of that's so funny.
Oh yeah, I mean
Oh,
everything
God.
that happened.
So you're cleaning up all the messes.
Well,
So-
yeah, and then there's challenges being started as well. So I lost my house to a fire and everything in it.
Wow.
And I found my mother dying, and
This all happened at the same time?
within about a year of my
No kidding. Oh.
So
What happened with your mom?
well, my mother was living with me during the summers.
Okay.
So she came into town and she was helping, so she took my daughters to day camp, and it was raining that day, so she went up into the garage to close a window because of the rain, and she tripped and fell right on her nose. She called me. She said, I think I broke my nose, but she was able that whole day, take my kids to daycare, pick them up, do her work. When I finally got home that night, she had an ice pack on her head. So the signs of a broken nose weren't there. But what had happened was she was on Coumadin, and when she fell, she had a deep brain bleed. So she had a hemorrhage that was just slowly bleeding. Oh. And when the next morning, when my kids came running down saying, "Daddy, Grandma needs you," I got up there. She couldn't open her eyes, couldn't speak, couldn't sit up. When we finally got EMS there and got her to the hospital, it was too late.
Yeah. So this all happened, so man, this
First year of sobriety.
Yeah, and they're trying to get you back something awful.
Yeah, but I mean, I was just I was so in tuned and doing what I was told, and what I had studied.
Listening to your support group and doing this stuff.
I mean, I went back to school for back then. I was trying to learn as much as I could on addiction.
Yeah.
So I went back to school at Madonna University in Livonia. And back then, they didn't have what they have now. So I did a weekend educational group for addiction studies, and it was just a certificate program.
Yeah.
Now you can get an MBA. I mean, you get not an MBA.
Yeah, no, they have
graduate,
they have master
masters and-
certificates.
Yeah. Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how quickly things have changed in the addiction field and in the recovery field.
All right, so you made it through the first year. which was every chance to go back and sit in
Yeah.
there. And you get to year 2, they offer you the job. Now, what's the job? Doing what?
Well, first it was because of my background. When I was volunteering there, I was working a lot with the business development team.
Okay.
I was doing a lot of community outreach, but also doing a lot of analytical stuff. So they first hired me with this position they created for a data analyst.
Oh, okay.
Which was nice because I'm a stats kind of guy. So Brighton's got a long history, and there was a lot of documentation I could go through and kind of look at what was happening in our community and how it was being addressed. Because this was right at the start, of the opiate epidemic.
Yeah.
So we started seeing. I was able to look at the stats and how it was affecting what demographic.
Yeah,
and
what
stuff
day,
like
what
that.
age, what time. Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's
that
cool.
was neat.
See, I'm a nerd
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Like I'm a chess player. I'm a nerd. I like my points and my pieces and my patterns, and I love all that stuff, right? So I love my fellow nerds that like that stuff, right? And we all sit at the nerdery doing the nerd stuff. But it's very imperative, like for the information for people doing it. So you're in your mid 40s at this point, and you're into this program, and everything is starting to work now as far as life goes.
Yeah, so I transitioned into a more active role in helping people than being that data analyst. So Brighton Hospital at the time was being integrated into the national organization Ascension Health.
Okay.
So they got rid of the business development team, and then and they localized it with the hospital system.
Right, which did what for you?
Well, then it opened up a position. They said the gentleman who was going through and integrating us said, Scott, why don't you form this community outreach, business development role?
Which is what you're doing now.
Which is what I'm doing now, and I've been able to bring that to Skywood Recovery Center.
All right, perfect. That's a perfect spot to take our next
All right.
break. If you've not gone out to ufam.org yet, you pay attention to the screen, hit Spiritual Warfare Unit, like, share, and subscribe. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Aaron with UCAN. Just out here today at the Valley Area Agency on Aging event, Senior Power Day. It's been really cool. We haven't been in the senior world very long, and I know it always plays a part in our world. So we're here today to connect with that senior community and kind of talk about the proper use, misuse, storage, and disposal of medications, making sure that they're not only are they using them as prescribed, but also disposing them as needed. So we're also bringing a multitude of services here that I'm looking at that allow us to connect and expand on our senior care initiative. So it was twofold: share some information with the seniors that were out here, but also make some connection with those who are servicing the senior community to be able to expand our network of our senior initiative and make some connectivity. So we've met the folks from Valley Area Agency on Aging specifically, have some cool ideas already to work with them. We'll talk to McLaren and Genesee Health Plan as far as the Medicaid sign-ups and things like that. Veterans are here. The Genesee County Services for Veterans is here. So really have some great connectivity going. Good start to our senior care. A great day here. There's a lot of people here. There's been probably 200 to 300 people here. We've been here since 9, so it's been a rewarding event. Most people do look at our table and say addiction and don't look, but there's been those handful that do come over to us and say specifically, hey, can you come to this event, or can you come speak to us here or there? And that's kind of what we're after. We're really after the focus on how we can continually expand our reach into this community. So it's been a good day. We look forward to continuing the rest of the day, and we'll circle back again another time. Thanks again.
All right, welcome back to our Warriors Way. Our warrior this week is Scott Masi, and we were just finishing up. He had just got his job working with, now that was Skywood?
No, with Brighton Center for Recovery.
Brighton Center for Recovery, okay. So you just got the job of basically what you're doing now, which like kind of define that. Like if someone...
Yeah, well, I mean, it's I like to, it's not definable in a way. I mean, basically, it's so. I mean, it encompasses everything. I mean, whatever it takes.
Like my
to help
understanding,
someone.
yeah. So my understanding is you find somebody where they're at,
Yeah.
no matter where that is, and then you get them the help that they need, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
I mean, and what's interesting, I mean, working at Brighton now working at Skywood Recovery Center,
Yeah.
they're both private, nonprofit, private organizations, which means they take private insurance. They don't work really much with Medicaid uninsured.
Okay.
So you have to work, provide scholarships, things like that.
Right.
But I, even working in that environment, I have strong relationships with the CMHs throughout the state, the community mental health organizations, which fund substance abuse treatment.
Right.
So and with the nonprofit that I founded, Unite to Face Addiction Michigan, we're able to provide resources and just provide.
So if someone wanted to get a hold of you to get all this, where would they go to do all that?
Well, the best bet, I mean, I give out my phone number. It's we should have put it up there, but it's 810-360-5779. And I mean, I'm available 24/7. I mean, I have
like that is that's very brave of you to put that phone.
Oh yeah, no. I got a good friend, Brandon Novak from the Jackass series.
Yeah.
This guy, I mean, he's got a national following.
Yeah.
He's an amazing guy.
Yeah.
I love him to death, and he's doing so well. But he'll go on. I mean, he puts
all right. Well, you
phone.
can't say you know something like that without telling me how you got to meet that guy.
Well,
I mean,
through Unite to Face Addiction. So Brandon, there's a lot of national figures within the recovery community. So I got really involved. I go to, once a year, go to Washington D.C. To do some advocacy, work with a lot of national programs to collaborate, and it's a tight knit community. It's a great community. And there's a lot of people, that come from every walk of life.
All right.
So we try to utilize some of the people with the bigger names to be able to put together programs and attract them.
Right.
So I work a lot with a gentleman named Mark Ludholm. He's from San Jose, California.
Okay.
I bring him in quite a bit, and he's a comedian. If you Google him, I always say he speaks 9 languages, and they're all English. So I mean, 9
English languages.
Oh yeah, we could speak at a $5,000 a plate dinner fundraiser, and he could speak at a juvenile detention facility, and he has the same impact. I mean, just amazing.
He's able to connect on all levels.
Oh
huh?
yeah,
Man, that's
just
cool.
an amazing guy. I've learned so much from him.
Yeah,
I'm just so appreciative of the friendship I have with him.
All right. So one of the things I always ask my people that come on is there any funny stories or any ironic things that have happened in your life? They're like, because of this, this funny thing kind of happened. So do you have anything like that?
I got so many stories, because I mean, and most recently, just some of the things that have happened, but nothing that really rings out. I try to look at everything from a perspective of humor.
Yeah.
Even though addiction is not funny.
Right.
But, think about this. You can Google alcoholic humor, then try to Google heroin humor. But
not a lot of jokes.
No, but I mean, the reason I say that is only because you got to be grounded in working in this area, in this. I don't want to say industry, in this area of helping people.
Right.
Because you're not just helping the individual, you're helping their family,
right.
You're helping the community. But
like one of the reasons I bring this up is because I have brain injury from a car accident, right? Like you were talking about with your ex-wife. And so if I don't laugh at my injury, I'm just going to cry about it, you know? And it's like you have certain things. And one of the things that I found funny is, your personality changes because the brain just responds to things differently. So your personality is different than it prior from before, right? And one of the things I find funny about that is like I was very outgoing and laid back and very comfortable in society, and I was the guy that I could tell you to go out to the restaurant and this is what you want to eat and this is the drink and here's the sauce and the dessert, and I was that guy. And then after the accident, you come back and you're fighting to get back into society, and you come back with one word answers. How are you doing? Fine. What's going on? Nothing. And you're like, man, people don't want to hang out anymore. It's like, well, you're not saying anything.
Yeah,
you're not doing anything.
Changed, huh?
And then the thing that made it funny was I go to restaurants and I was saying things that I was thinking. Right. So imagine what you would say if that didn't work.
Yeah, that stream
right?
of consciousness just letting loose.
Yeah, and you're not aware of the functional. Yeah. You're just like you're like, man, I was just thinking that, And so my wife stopped going out to restaurants with me, and I'm like, man, I'm hungry. She's like, I'm not chancing it. She's like, they're like spitting our food or something because you're going to say something. And that went on for like a while, right? And so it was one of the processes is like when you look back on it, you laugh because it's just like I had no idea that was going on. But everybody else is in that environment like, And,
Well, it's just like addiction. I mean,
it's just
I
like
I was
addiction.
the last one to know I had a problem.
Right. And then
Everybody
you're
around
like,
you
really?
does.
I thought I was hiding that pretty
Oh
good.
yeah, exactly.
I wasn't?
Yeah.
And that's the part I find, like, to be really funny is you think you're being slick, but it's like you're not. No, you can't get there. And so Skywood Recovery, do they have any events that you guys got going on?
Well,
You said you just
it's
finished one?
interesting you say that. So, Skywood Recovery Center, where I work now, and we're a 100-bed facility, like I say, on 350 acres. But we also have an outpatient facility in Royal Oak.
Okay.
And we're doing a Narcan training tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
So, that's at our outpatient facility. So, yeah, it's working for this, Skywood has just been amazing because, the director I work for, he's also in recovery. A large contingent of my coworkers are all in recovery, and it's great because, I can call them up at any time. If we're running into an issue,
Yeah.
we all work as a team
Right.
to facilitate the needs of our clients.
So you just told me something when we had started about something called Advocacy Day.
Advocacy,
just
yeah.
had that. What was
Yeah,
that?
so we just had it. So every third Thursday of May, Unite to Face Addiction Michigan puts on a rally at the state capitol. So we take over the capitol. We have two large resource tents, 40 by 60 tents.
So, like, how many people do you have come on?
Well, this past year we had about 1,200. This past month we had about 1,200 people.
Wow.
There. In previous years we've had over 3,000. We came out of COVID. We hadn't
People.
hadn't done it in 2 years. We
Wow.
had close to 100 resource tables.
Wow.
We do integrative therapies while they're there. I bring in national speakers. This year it was Tony Mandridge. Mark Ludholm was the MC. We had a lot of local speakers as well.
Okay.
It's basically we try to put a face and a voice to the issue
Absolutely.
of addiction from prevention, treatment, recovery, and advocacy. I mean, we want to, and then we had almost 30 state legislators get on the steps of the Capitol and address us and, acknowledge that, us. And that's why we do it on a Thursday, because they're in session. The legislators are in session.
Catch them at work.
Oh,
huh?
yeah. And we take, it's really a neat day. And the people that attend, really look forward to coming back.
That's
So we're
cool.
looking at ways to continue to do it. And another thing that we do is we do a recovery live tour. So the rally we've been doing for about 5 years. The recovery live tour has been about 9 years.
Now, what is that Recovery Live Tour?
So the recovery live tour is, we built it up to be a full week now. So
Okay.
we'll like this past year. We didn't, we were coming out of COVID, so we kind of, just did a modified recovery life tour. But we started in Petoskey,
Okay.
Traverse City area. We came down to Kalamazoo.
But what are you doing for the tour?
Well, what we're doing is we're going into treatment centers, we're going into recovery community organizations, we're going into jails, prisons, juvenile detention facilities.
Okay.
And then during the day, and then we anchor it with live performances in the evening for the community.
Okay.
So we go all over the state.
Wow.
So, that last year, like I say, we started in Traverse City, went to Kalamazoo, over to Ann Arbor, Flint, Port Huron, and Detroit.
Okay.
So, and I
Can
mean,
people find, like, where to find this stuff?
yeah.
Like a
So,
calendar?
So we put together we do our best at marketing. We still have a lot of work to do.
Help us help you, buddy.
So, but we're building relationships,
Okay.
through the collaboration, because basically the way I look at Unite to Face Addiction Michigan, when we first started, was just a way to, like I say, put a face and a voice to this issue,
Yeah.
but then also show the collaborative efforts
Right.
that are needed.
Yeah.
To highlight all the resources, because I can't tell you how many people call up looking for help,
Right.
and we're struggling to identify all the resources that are available.
Right, and that's why at Spiritual Warfare, our function is to provide those, because outside of that, like, being from the jail perspective of it, was how do we help these guys when they get out of this? Like, how do we make that community effective for them, and where do they get, what issues they're going to have, job, funding for housing, food, clothes, kid stuff. And
Right.
I even got a school. And I was like, listen, if they're low income, no income, and you want to get them out of the public school, get them into an academy and get them there, and they got a U of M facility that they'll see your kids if under 15, regardless.
Well, and that's the thing, you're trying to lower the barriers to people trying to get help because
you know how it is. You don't know where it's at till you need it, and then you got to find it, and you don't even know what you're looking for.
Yeah, and a lot of times, it delays you asking for help because you're so overwhelmed with, I need this.
Yep.
It's just it can be so overwhelming that it defeats the person trying to get the help.
Supporting what you guys are doing, because you guys can't do this and that, and
without collaborating.
Right, and so that's what we can do for you guys.
Right.
And so when you're getting out there, there's just a list, and we get the list, and it's for Genesee County. As we expand to other counties, we'll get those, and having people on doing what you guys are doing. Like, it's amazing. And the stories of those moments where you're coming in there, like, in my mind, I sit there and I see that moment when you're walking in. And like you said, your mom's standing there and you're like, oh. And then the before and after, and then how that moment, the decision is made. And some people will make the decision, well, I'm just going to get through this so I can get back to it. And other people make the decision, I'm done with it. And what was in the process. I guess the question I kind of want to ask you is, like, in your mind, when did you know I'm done with this thing? Was it when you knew you had purpose to help others with it, or was it at the intervention time, right?
No, believe me, because I knew I had the rocks of crack in the car.
Yeah.
And I didn't come home after treatment, and I knew they were still there.
You were still thinking about them after that.
I was thinking, I better get them out. I don't want my ex-wife to get in trouble if she stop. But the thing was, it's when I got out of my own way.
When you say that, what do you mean?
Well,
I got out of my own way.
When I started trying to direct traffic, right? When I started thinking I knew better than what everybody in front of me that got better did.
Right.
And I had those examples to follow, and I was surrounded by some amazing people that, they weren't thinking of themselves.
Right.
They were thinking of the people around them and, who they could help. And that just, it was a spiritual, I always want to be careful because I don't want to, turn people, people that are struggling away because they're so spiritually void, and it's an amazing feeling when you feel a sense of, I struggle with self-esteem all my life. I still do.
Right.
But, I have a lot to offer, and so does that person that I'm helping.
Right.
And
just
they
you've
need
been
to know
beat
that.
up. Yeah, just because you've been beat up or bruised and kicked and put down doesn't mean you don't have value. It just means you don't see it. And there's a big difference between those two things. Scott Masi, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Going to Skywood Recovery, brother. I love what you do. I love your personality. That story was a great story. Thank you for sharing it.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I
with
really appreciate
with
it.
our audience. And if you know anyone that's struggling, please go ahead and check out Skywood Recovery. Please go to UFAM. If you haven't done it now at the end of the show is over. You'll have to check it out online. Thank you for coming in the Spiritual Warfare Unit. If you have anybody you know that needs help, please tell them to go to Spiritual Warfare Unit. Click on Struggling, and our support programs are there. Thank you for coming in. We'll see you next week. Do you have a nonprofit in your area that's doing a lot of work that people should know about? Feel free to contact Spiritual Warfare Unit at 810-715-9319, and we would love to have them on to see what good they're doing in the community and find out their story. Thank you so much.
Spent so much time believing the lies. I knew I wasn't meant to live this way. But my walls came down when your love shone through. Now my life will never be the same. You love me too much to let me stay this way.